Hi friends, we're going to continue talking about similar triangles and finding missing parts of similar triangles, but this is going to be specifically about similar right triangles. So if you have a right triangle, like here I have this whole big right triangle, ABC, so that's one triangle. If we draw a little segment from the right angle of that to a right angle on the opposite side, it creates two new triangles. So I have three separate triangles here. The first one is this little triangle. So if I look at that little triangle, I notice that the right angle is at D. I notice that the shorter side here is from D to A, so I know that that has to be A. And then the longest side is from A to C, so that has to be C. If I look at my medium-sized triangle, this triangle right here is my mediums. We have a small, medium, and large triangle. For my medium triangle, the right angle is still at D. But now on this medium triangle, this is my shorter side from D to C, so that has to be C. And then my longest side is from C to B, so that has to be B. And then we have the whole entire triangle. So the whole big triangle. For my big triangle, I can see that my right angle is at C, so that has to be a C. The shorter side is from C to A, and the longest side is from A to B. So it's important to be able to recognize the three different triangles, the small, medium, and the large. And all of those triangles, if we draw them correctly, it's pretty easy to see that they are similar to each other. But notice that I had to pay attention to where the right angle was, where the shortest side was, and where the longest side was. So let's look at an example here. Given that PQR is similar to QSR, what is QS? So if we're looking here, they're telling me that I'm using triangles PQR and triangle SQR. Triangle SQR is my small triangle here. So I know I'm going to be using the smallest triangle. And then PQR is the biggest triangle. So remember, we have a small, medium, and large. So we're using the small triangle and the large triangle. I'm going to redraw those so they're kind of facing the same way. So there's my small triangle. I'm just going to duplicate that to make my large triangle. So for the small triangle, the one that I just colored in green, I can see that S is where the right angle is. The shortest side is from S to R, and the longest side is from R to Q. We know that this is 15, and this is 9. That's what they give us. And then for our whole big triangle here, I can see the right angle is at Q. I can see the shorter side is from Q to R, and the longer side is from R to P. And then I also know from Q to R is 15, and I know from Q to P is 20. And then they're asking us to find how long it is from Q to S. So we're looking for X there on our small triangle. Now that we have them redrawn, it becomes very easy. I can say X over 20. So if I'm looking at stuff I know X, I know 20. And then 9 and 15, those are corresponding sides. So X over 20 equals 9 over 15. And then solving this, X times 15 is 15X. 9 times 20 is 180. And then dividing both sides by 15, we would get x is 12. So in this case, QS equals 12. Let's look at another one. Now they want me to find PS. This is the same picture. And remember, we just found out here that QX was 12. Now they want me to find PS. Well, it looks like PS is part of my medium triangle. And then I already know stuff from my small triangle. So those are the two triangles I'm going to be using. The small triangle and the medium triangle. So again, I'm going to redraw my small triangle. The right angle is right there. And then a medium triangle. For the small triangle, the right angle is at S, the smaller side is SR, and the longer side is RQ. We know that's 15, that's 9, and we just found out that that was 12. Our medium triangle then, the right angle is still at S, but now the shorter side is from S to Q, and the longer side is from Q to P. We know from Q to P is 20. We know from S to Q is 12. They want us to find how far it is from P to S. So there's a couple different ways we can set this up. 12 and X are corresponding. So I'm going to do 12 over X equals. For the second part, it's up to you. You could say 15 over 20, or you could say 9 over 12. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to do 15 over 20. And then solving this one, x times 15 is 15x. 12 times 20 is 240. So dividing both sides by 15, I would get that x is 16. So in this case, PS is 16. The math behind this is not difficult. The hardest part about these right triangle ones is drawing them. This is just another theorem, but we're going to keep doing the same stuff and just redrawing our triangles. So here they're telling me AD divided by CD equals CD again divided by DB. So let's look here. They want us to find CD, so I'm going to put an X there. I see that that X is part of my medium triangle, and it's part of my small triangle. So those are the two triangles I'll be using. If I look at my small triangle here, I'm just going to duplicate this to make my medium triangle. So for the small triangle, the right angle is at D. My smaller side is from D to A, and that's 5. And then my bigger side is from A to C. And they want us to find how far it is from C to D. My medium triangle, the right angle is at D. My smaller side is from D to C. And my longer side is from C to B. And we know from D to B is 15. And from C to D is X. So now solving this one, again, it's pretty straightforward once we have them drawn. X over 15 equals 5 over X. X times X is X squared. 15 times 5 is 75. So remember, to undo squaring something, we square root both sides. So square root of X squared equals square root of 75. And since we're actually solving for lengths here, you can just put square root 75 in your calculator and round it to the nearest tenth. And here we would get x is approximately 8.7. So CD is approximately, that means approximately 8.7. Let's look at one more. They want us to find RT, so I'm going to put an X there. I see that RT is part of my medium triangle, and RT is part of my big triangle. So I'm using the big triangle and the medium triangle here, again, because RT is part of those two. So if I draw my big triangle, and then we need to duplicate that to make our medium triangle. For the big triangle, the right angle is at T. The smaller side is from T to S, and the longer side is from S to R. They want us to find RT. And if we look here from S to R, is this side right here. That whole side, we need to add the 9.6 and the 5.4, and that gives us 15. So from S to R is 15. If we look at our medium triangle here, our green triangle, the right angle is at U. The shorter side goes from U to T, and the longer side goes from T to R. And what we know here from U to R is 9.6. They want us to find RT. So there's the setup. So we can say X over 9.6 equals 15 over X. And then solving this, again, X times X is X squared. 9.6 times 15 is 144. So we'll do square root of X squared equals square root of 144, which means X is 12. So in this case, RT is 12.